Welcome back to Montana this morning. The time now is 6:44 on this Tuesday. Look at that, 39 degrees to get us out the door today. Sounds like a great start, but what's up next? Ed's filling in for Miller, so he'll get us all caught up on that in a few minutes. Let's go ahead and get to news. Our top story this morning, the FBI is warning extremists are planning armed rallies across the country if President Trump is removed from office. Today, the House will vote on a resolution urging Vice President Mike Pence to activate the 25th Amendment to oust the president. Pence has shown no signs of considering such action. Either way, House Democrats say they have the votes they need to impeach President Trump a second time on Wednesday. They claim he incited the riots that led to the storming of the Capitol last week. The FBI says it is also investigating additional threats against President-elect Biden, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Montana's only congressman is strongly denouncing the effort to impeach the president. Republican Matt Rosendale says Democrats in Congress are making false claims of a national crisis. Rosendale calls the possible impeachment disgraceful political theater and urged Democrats not to do any additional damage to the political fabric of our republic. Rosendale is one of about 140 Republican House members who voted last week to challenge presidential election results in Arizona and Pennsylvania. Amid the calls from Democrats to invoke the 25th Amendment, President Trump and Vice President Pence had their first meeting since the riots yesterday. They met in the Oval Office, and officials described the conversation as good. The men discussed the week ahead while reflecting on the last 4 years of the administration's work and accomplishments. Capitol Police are investigating several officers for not following proper procedure during Wednesday's riot. The acting chief says investigators are reviewing video and other materials to look for violations. At least 2 officers have already been suspended. One took a selfie with a member of the mob, and the other directed people around the building while wearing a Make America Great Again hat. Capitol Police have not said how many officers are under investigation, but a House aide said the number could be as high as 17. Twitter has been on an enforcement spree since the Capitol storming. The social media platform says it has suspended more than 70,000 accounts for promoting the QAnon conspiracy theory. QAnon followers claim a variety of theories, like politicians and celebrities work with global governments to sexually abuse children, and that 5G cellular networks spread COVID-19. None of the group's theories have ever been proven. Twitter says these accounts violate its terms of service because they can spread violence. Now closer to home, a Billings woman is murdered and her son is behind bars for the crime. Police responded to a reported disturbance Monday on the south side. When they arrived, they found the woman dead in an apartment on the 100 block of Calhoun Lane. Officers took the woman's son into custody shortly after. So far, no other information on the crime has been released. A group of local educators were given COVID-19 vaccines before they were eligible. St. Vincent Healthcare sent an online invitation to certain healthcare organizations with a code to schedule their vaccination appointment. That code was shared with local teachers, and many used it and were vaccinated last Thursday. Right now, only healthcare professionals, first responders, and those in long-term care are eligible to get the shot. Hospital staff say they chose to move forward with these appointments because they did not want to waste the vaccine.
So the biggest mistake we can make in this whole vaccination process is having a dose of vaccine that wastes. We don't want to waste any. We want it to get it into somebody's arm. We're doing our best to follow the plans as we've been given them, and we've developed our plans. But the biggest waste would be having a dose go to waste, and we are not doing that.
The hospital is making sure this won't happen again and have canceled any remaining appointments from the shared code. Anyone who's already been given a first dose of the vaccine will still get the second dose. And meanwhile, the death toll from COVID-19 has surpassed 375,000 here in the U.S. Right now, California is one of the hardest hit states. More than 3,300 people died there this past week alone. CBS's Deborah Alfarone has more.
As the pandemic continues to ravage LA County,
we have no beds for them. It's been 4 weeks of getting crushed.
The rest of the nation is also seeing a surge, including Washington, D.C., where Wednesday's riot at the U.S. Capitol could further spike case numbers. Health officials are trying to speed up vaccination efforts. More and more cities and states are opening large-scale sites at fairgrounds and stadiums, like this one at Arizona's State Farm Stadium.
I feel great, I've been wanting to get it, and I didn't have to fight the website too badly. And I'm glad if I can, help publicize it and so on.
This after officials were concerned some vaccines were expiring as they restricted doses to specific priority groups.
If there's a dose that's sitting there and there's no one queued up that's in line based upon the existing tiers, we want to be able to move to other priority groups.
At this site in Florida's Tropical Park, Barbara Sugarman of Coral Springs says she's concerned people who don't live in the state might be getting doses meant for Floridians.
When you go to register, it doesn't ask you where you live. I don't feel good. I think it's denying the Floridians a chance to get their shot because they're coming in from Venezuela and Argentina or wherever. I'm not happy.
It's an uphill climb. The CDC says just over a third of all doses sent out have been administered. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News.
2 Democrat lawmakers have now tested positive for the coronavirus after being locked down in the Capitol last week. Both representatives say they believe they were exposed by lawmakers who refused to wear masks. Now we go to Helena for the latest on the 67th session. A bill that would expand where and how guns can be carried in the state is heading to the House floor. The bill would allow people to carry concealed firearms in more places and limit the Montana University system's ability to regulate guns on college campuses. During a committee meeting, lawmakers added additional exceptions, including a requirement that people carry guns on campus receive safety training. The bill was sponsored by Joliet Congressman Seth Bergley. The Montana Department of Revenue will not receive the additional $1 million they asked for to help roll out marijuana legalization. The request was shot down by Billings Congressman Bill Mercer. He says $1 million is a big number, and he wants more justification on why that much money is needed. The Revenue Department wants to hire 20 new employees to work on recreational marijuana. Applications to open a marijuana dispensary can be submitted starting October 1st, and the department wants more workers to handle that paperwork. Mercer says it's too soon to commit to that much money.
I think we thought we need more time to really sort through what's needed, on what timetable, and do we stick with the timetable in the initiative, or do we say, well, if this is going to be too much too fast, do we try to extend the time period that was set forth in the initiative?
Governor Greg Gianforte says his administration plans to redirect the tax revenue from recreational marijuana sales to addiction recovery and economic development. Today, the legislature's COVID-19 response panel will look to implement new plans and precautions for the session now that a second lawmaker tested positive for the virus. Columbus Representative Fiona Nave received her positive results last night. She joins fellow Republican David Beatty of Hamilton, who was confirmed to have the virus last week. So far, Nave has not attended the session in person and has been working remotely. And wrapping up our news this Tuesday, one of the most recognizable nonprofits in Yellowstone County is about to hit a milestone almost a decade in the making. Q2's Casey Conlon has a story.
It's quiet these days in the southeast corner of Pauley Vista Park, the space seemingly waiting for the perfect opportunity to come along. After 7.5 years, it finally has.
The day I found Atlanta's legacy was the morning I was writing his obituary. So it was June 5th, 2013.
Since that day, Marcy and Scott Smith have focused on one thing above all else, honoring their son with a dream that he never got to live out.
He wanted to play baseball, and when that was never a reality for him, that was kind of what kicked it off for me, and the Miracle League field was, I don't want any other child not to be able to play.
The Smiths found the Miracle League, an organization that builds all-inclusive fields fit for anyone with any disability of any age.
20% of our population is special needs in some way. And, this isn't just for children. It will benefit senior citizens. It'll benefit wounded warriors who thought they'd never play with their kids again.
I don't think anybody really realizes how many people this park will serve. And I'm surprised it actually hasn't come up prior to now that somebody wanted to get on this.
So Dean Blackford made sure it will get it. Blackford is a board member for the Harnish Foundation, a family group with roots that started in 1929 in Sidney, Montana. Their mission is simple: give to those who can make an exponential difference with a running start.
Have known the Smith family for a number of years, and when it came up, the opportunity to support this group, it was an easy shoo-in, if you will.
Harnish's $375,000 donation last week is enough to finally, after 7.5 years, make Landon's Miracle Field a reality. They're set to break ground this spring.
Can I ask how this came about?
Friendship, family, knowing them, and they're such a huge part of this community and have been for years. And they love the community of Billings, and they want to stay involved in it and be part of it. And they believed in Landon's Foundation.
The work isn't done yet. The field is just phase 1 of the site's master plan.
Once the Miracle League is finished, we'll move on to the all-inclusive playground, and then after that we'll do the splash pad. And why that's important is when people have mobility issues, they have a hard time cooling their body, so that kids that may be playing in the Miracle League, they might get overheated. Under normal circumstances, they would just have to go home. Well, now they can just go cool off on the splash pad. We want to make it an all-day play day for families.
A day Landon would have loved.
He would be overwhelmed. He would be overwhelmed. He'd be very proud. Just unfortunate he can't be here to see it, but he'll be here.
Casey Conlon, MTN News.
The group hopes to have the first game on the field by the end of the summer and break ground on phase 2 a year later. It's so great to see this is finally really happening. The story behind it is just so emotional and has so much meaning to it. And when you see those cars driving around town with the Landon's Legacy sticker on it, you know they're behind a great cause.
They've really been working very hard at this. I remember when Landon was born to Scott and Marcy and everything they've been through all of these years trying to get this going. So they put so much blood, sweat, and tears into this. It's really great to see.
Yep, just one example of why you should never give up. Ever.
For sure.
All right.
Let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to get a little emotional. Temperature